Hey Pandora Hearts fans, I'm back with a discussion video on Volume 3. Now if you haven't watched Volume 2's video, I just want to tip you off that these do contain some spoilers. It is more of a discussion type video aimed at people who are already reading the series or are currently reading it. So Volume 3 I thought was pretty cool. See, in Volume 2 we have the hunt for an illegal contractor sort of opening the path for us to find out what the world is currently like. So we find out how the contractors work. We find out that Oz is an illegal contractor. We find out about the Incubus. We find out about the fact that it's been 10 years since Oz disappeared into the abyss. We find out that Raven is in reality Gil. So there's a lot of things that we find out about the new status quo and the current world setting that Oz is now finding himself in. In Volume 3, that same sort of technique is used, the hunt for an illegal contractor, but it's used to reveal out a lot about the past. So we find out that Oz's father is pretty much a right bastard who absolutely seems to despise Oz and treats him as more of a thing as opposed to an actual person. We find out that perhaps part of Gil's devotion to Oz is his incredible guilt over the fact that he was kind of involved in Oz's father revealing that side of himself. We also find out that Break is manipulating things sort of behind the scenes. Like, we don't really get a good idea of exactly what Break's doing, but the fact that he uses young Gil as a spy to infiltrate the Night Ray family, it really suggests that he thinks something is going on that's a lot bigger than just maintaining the status quo, which seems to be Pandora's actual mission. We also find out that one of the reasons it took so long for them to rescue Oz was because Gil had to become strong enough to form a contract with the Night Rays chain the Raven, and that the Raven, not specifically, like they mean to sound like any chain with black feathers, can actually traverse between our realm and the abyss. So Gil had to become strong enough to bond with Raven so that he could use its ability to rescue Oz. Intermixed with all this, we find out that Gil has a blood relative, a brother, who is named Vincent, who seems pretty unstable, especially like in that first bit where as kids they're reunited and Vincent's in the process of dismembering like toy rabbits and stuff. Weird guy. And even Gil seems to not really want to know or talk about what has happened to them previously. So even though we know that Gil had some amnesia, there's sort of this hint that there's maybe either some things coming back to him or that if he pushed himself he might be capable of remembering, but he does not want to. The other thing that we find out is that 100 years ago is when sort of the world status quo changed, when these dukedoms came to power, and we find out that the reason that pretty much they have that power is because each of them has access to the abyss and has like a powerful chain who serves the family. Now, the one thing that I was kind of interested about in this volume was this whole reaction of Oz's dad. And remember, we found out in the last volume that Oz was, like, for some reason, the intention of the Abyss was obsessed with Oz. And his dad's reaction to him, like, calling him, like, a thing or whatever, like, I think to myself, I'm like, maybe somehow Oz isn't quite human. Like, we don't know a lot about what happened to his mom. There is some hint, like, Gil says that he can't go to the Night Ray family because they were the ones who killed Oz's mother. But Break makes this statement like, yeah, that's the rumor, but really there hasn't been a lot of proof of that. So it's almost like they kind of suggest that there's probably more to Oz's mother and to her death than what we're being led on. Like, it wasn't just politics, it wasn't just, you know, family black dabblings. It suggests something else, and I'm almost wondering if it has something to do with the Abyss itself. And that's why Oz is so tied into the whole intention of the Abyss, why he was thrown in the Abyss in the first place. They said, you know, your existence is your sin. So these are the kind of things that I'm hoping are going to be revealed come future volumes. There's also just like, I love how there's little lines just thrown out, like how Break, as he's escorting Vincent out of the house, is kind of saying how it's kind of funny how this illegal contractor who escaped, Grimm, how it seems like it almost like he had inside help, and that perhaps why someone would be in such a rush to eliminate him maybe because they're afraid of what he might reveal. So we're also given this idea that, you know what, there may be manipulations going on in Pandora itself that are not above board, and that there's a lot of sort of dark dealings going on within Pandora. And we've yet to really see the other families as well. Like, you know, this with Vincent was sort of our first major introduction to the Night Rays. I know the people that attacked Oz in the previous volume were like another sort of family or what have you. So we don't even know exactly what all the families are, what their stances are, what chains serve them, their primary chains and stuff like that. So there's so much more story to find out in this particular series, so I'm really looking forward to it. So those are my thoughts on Volume 3. I thought it was a really clever use of taking the storyline from Volume 2, but twisting it so that we learn a whole bunch of new stuff, most of it in the past, which just helped to expand the world and really pique our interest about why everything seems to revolve around events from 100 years ago. And we know from Alice's memory in Volume 2 that she was remembering being in that spot, and as it turns out, it looked that way 100 years ago. So obviously Alice is all tied into this whole thing as well. So it's really cool how more and more this is getting layered heavier and heavier with backstory and the manipulations and machinations of different characters, and yet at the same time it all is starting to tie the characters together and their seemingly separate situations into a consolidated whole. So really great writing. Again, amazing artwork in this volume. I really like the Pandora Pandora Hearts artwork. It's awesome. It's a really well done manga. So those are my thoughts on Volume 3. I will be back, hopefully sooner than later, with Volume 4, and we'll continue the discussion then. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to catch up my other Pandora Hearts reviews in the future, or if you want to see my light novel reviews, click on the subscribe button. Leave your thoughts about this particular volume in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.